I always was. I always craved attention when I was a kid, and I was always outspoken, very much a class clown in general, and so in a lot of ways I'm suited for it, whatever that means. In a lot of ways it hasn't been that difficult of a transition for me. I still have a lot of the same friends that I had, growing up. I have lots of friends in Seattle. I live in a very small house in a kind of sort of middle class neighborhood that I know my neighbors. It's like for me, Seattle is not a scary place to be me, because I've been running around the streets of Seattle all my life, and it's not weird. And if anything, it's been nothing, for the most part, but a blessing. I'm financially secure, able to buy my parents automobiles and help my friends make records, and still be extravagant with myself in terms of traveling and things like that. So life is good for sure.
You wear it like a glove.
and I might, and there might come a time, I'm prepared for financial disaster. I'm not. If that's another chapter in my life, then that'll be something I'm ready to face too. It's like I'll own my own house, so that'll be good. And but for right now, it feels good, and I'm just not that worried about money. It's never been a big focus for us. We've gotten some, but for the first 5 years, we didn't have jack, and it was still the only thing we did. So I feel confident that we're that it was a good thing, and you go through your down times, I assume, but there's a million things I like to do, and I think if we can just maintain our relationship in this band, and we might have to take 10 years off at some point, but we'll always be able to come make a record that I think people will be interested in hearing what it is we do. I'd like to think that.
At this point, though, is there anything left to accomplish for you? Is maintaining the status quo, I guess?
I don't think maintaining the status quo, in terms of us selling as many records as we're selling right now, that's not nearly as important to me as developing with Jack and the rest of the band. I think that it's been a exciting, sometimes difficult transition. Just trying to get the old stuff to sound the way we want it to with Jack. Jack and Dave are very different style of drummers. But what's really exciting is the stuff that we've already sort of written with Jack, and knowing that the band is continuing to write new stuff that's sounding different and maybe even, I think, just being more excited about the songwriting, crafting songs, and really getting back into songwriting in a way that maybe we haven't. Maybe even Vitology was sort of a step away from. Vitology was a very spontaneous, a very simple arrangements, which was indicative of just how we were working together, maybe the only way we could work together at that time. But I really think everybody in the band has got songwriting strengths, and I think having someone like Jack in the band who's a very wise and giving drummer, and everybody sort of developing, and Mike McCready has gone through some pretty interesting transitions lately in terms of he's sober for the first time in 12 years, and I think his confidence is much higher in terms of songwriting and stuff like that. So now developing everyone, helping everybody develop their own sort of voice in the band. That's what I'm excited about in the future is diversifying and continuing to develop as a band.
You mentioned Jack Irons, and a long time ago people had talked about Pearl Jam forming when you and Jeff were sort of fixed up with Eddie by a member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Was that Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack was the guy that, Jack wasn't in the Chili Peppers at the time.
Oh, I see.
We were talking to Jack about being the drummer. At that time, we had called Jack and said, "Do you want to be in the band?" And he said, "No, I can't. I'm in this band called 11." And I said, "Well, okay, do you know any singers? Because we're looking for one of those." And he said, "Yeah, I do. And his name's Eddie." And I mean, that was it.
What was Jack to you and Jeff then? How did you know him?
We didn't at all, and we just were, we knew that he wasn't in the Chili Peppers anymore, and I think at that time both of us had been listening to Uplift, Mofo Party Plan, or is that what it is? Uplift, anyway, and just thought he would be great. It was a full, like, let's call Jack Irons, he's our guy, Jack didn't know who we were from, but he enjoyed the demo. The demo was good. It was like, me and Jeff and Mike playing with Matt Cameron, that's the guy that played on the original demos. Matt came in and recorded with us for 3 days or whatever. So, I mean, there is a certain, poetic justice to it in terms of, that Jack did turn us on to, obviously, an ideal situation, and it finally came full circle. We might not have been ready to play with Jack at that early stage, and I think the path that we had to go through and the path that he had to go through, it really feels like we've all sort of come home in an interesting way. So, just really excited again about the future. This will be an interesting tour because we are playing a lot of old stuff that Jack really didn't have anything to do with, and but the future is wide open. So we're just excited about getting out there and learning how to play together.
Well, legend has it that you provided Eddie with a tape of your stuff, the stuff you had cut, the demo tapes, and he came back with lyrics and a vocal. Mm-hmm. And apparently that sort of knocked you guys out.
Sure.
What exactly knocked you out?
Well, it was basically completed versions of Alive once, not even Flow, Live once, and Footsteps. So, I mean, those basically are exactly the same as they are on the record. So we heard that and said, okay, this will be good. We'll go along with it.
So you didn't actually meet him in the flesh until...
No, we met him before we exchanged. We met him in Los Angeles one time. He gave us a tape of his band, which was Bad Radio, and immediately, I mean, I think even before then, as soon as we heard his demo, just hearing his voice, we were like, well, that's different. That didn't sound like anything that we hadn't listened to that many demos, but they were pretty frightening, the ones that we had, so we were very excited about anything that wasn't.
Remember your first impressions of him when meeting him for the first time?
Yeah, I thought he was very shy and very, he seemed very genuine. Just came in a hotel room and said, "Hey, how are you? Nice to be here." And it was a good first meeting. And I remember the very first time he came to Seattle. On the way up, he made a collage using the magazine from the paper or from the airlines, and it had my name on it and Jeff's name, and I can't remember what the picture was, but it was something about, he obviously had spent the whole 2 hours of the flight putting this thing together, and I mean that.
What was it? What kind of?
It was just like I can't remember exactly, but it. I think you cut out some figures and sort of had them, it was just a collage, like a classic sort of magazine collage, but I remember it was about him coming up to Seattle and about me and Jeff and us hopefully getting together and playing music, and that's not typical of when you're trying out rock singers. It's like most don't make you a collage. If you put an ad in the LA Weekly, it's you get
They'll throw up on your living room carpet, but they'll make you a collage.
Right, they'll bring you some cocaine or something.
The flip side of the legend we're talking about here is how Eddie was obviously heavily inspired by what he heard on the tape, which you guys had provided him with. Mm-hmm. What sort of magical power do you think that had on him, or what sort of power had you guys unleashed there? Did you feel something had come to fruition at that point? You were at the top of your game or something, and just sort of missing that one last piece of the puzzle?
I don't think I've ever felt like I was on top of my game in terms of playing in a band. I mean, I think we're always so close to the music, and it's you have great nights for sure, and you think, okay, I was on top of my game tonight, but the next night, the night after that is going to be you're back at the bottom of your game again, and you're going to go out and see a bar band that night after your show that fucking destroys you, and So it's a constant up and down. But you know, we had some good songs.